Buckle up for a new episode of Bumpaholics, the one and only podcast made to teach on all stages of the arrival of a baby, before, during, and after. Whether you're an expecting mother, have questions about fertility, difficulty with lactation, or postpartum, you're sure to learn from our experienced doulas when you listen to Bumpaholics.
So, all right, chapter 12. So, Lisa describes horrible ligament pain in both of her late pregnancies, going in to see two ineffective chiropractors before meeting one who worked wonders. What solutions have you seen work for late pregnancy discomforts?
So I mean, I love chiropractors. I really do. But I also feel like sometimes it's just not enough for pregnancy.
Yep.
There's just so much. Like your body is so strained that chiropractic adjustments by themselves aren't all that effective. I feel like you have to also combine that with movement exercises, like just making there's certain exercises that you can do that, I mean, like, they're really gentle to do, but you're like you're moving to like around all of your range of motions, and like make sure that you're keeping your body strong even towards the end of the range of motion, so that you're not injuring yourself, but you don't and like learning where that boundary is, because all of your ligaments get so loose during pregnancy. It's very easy to like overextend something and injure yourself. So just those types of exercises to just make sure you're aware of the limitations of your own body, in combination with chiropractic care and stretching or yoga, that because like while a lot of ligaments get loose, a lot of tendons can get tight as well, because your body is overcompensating for your new center of gravity. And sometimes like belly binding wraps, just supportive garments are necessary with during pregnancy.
Yep, all of those things. I had a PT actually tell me to think of my ligaments as a pelvic floor therapist tell me to think of my ligaments and my muscles like rubber bands. And she says, when you have a rubber band that has been way overused, and you think of like, you pull this out of your junk drawer and you're like, this is useless, I don't know why we keep saving this, and then throw it back into the junk drawer because that's just what we do. That when you have those, you also have those ligaments that come on broccoli. Those rubber bands, also not great for their purpose. So you're gonna have these super floppy, super loose ones, and then these way too tight ones. And you have to get them to the center of where they're both the right amount of elastic in order for them to function properly. And I loved that visual. I knew exactly what she was talking about, and it makes sense. So you have this one that is never letting go, and then this one that's not doing its job. You have both at the same time, which is just crazy to try and figure out on your own. And going to professionals like pelvic floor therapists, physical therapists, chiropractors can be incredibly helpful for sure. I've also heard really good things about, but have not seen someone use in late pregnancy yet, but acupuncture and deep tissue massage. I have heard good things. I have not had a client actually do them yet, but if I do, then I probably won't come back and find this book club and let you guys know, but it might happen.
I was definitely wanting to try that prenatal massage like a lot, and then never actually found the time to do
Oh
it. But it's like I hear that it's wonderful.
Here it feels great. That's what I hear. I just haven't had a client do it yet. And I didn't know it was a thing when I had my babies. So I found out a lot about the birth world once I stopped having children, because that's the order of things.
Well, yeah, you can't know that you're interested in the birth world until you go through it a couple times, right? That's how this works.
Madison would disagree with you.
True.
Most of the time, that's how this
works. But that is how a lot of doulas get into the business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's exactly what we're talking about in chapter 8. You have an experience and you want to make sure that other people don't have it, or you have an experience and you want everyone to have it.
Yeah.
Then we just get paid to give people advice, essentially. Then they're really asking.
Yeah, they are they are very intentionally asking for it if they're paying you.
At that point, yes. Okay, chapter 13, our last chapter. So this one is a pretty heavy question. So chapter 13 itself focuses on making memories, taking photos when pregnant, during birth, and of the baby after loss. And what are some ways that you've seen or learned to commemorate a loss through intentional memory making?
I know there's a lot of different things that people do. There can be like images, like not just of the baby, like taking pictures of the baby, but you can like represent the baby and their place in your family through pictures, like if there's older siblings and stuff, taking pictures with something that belonged to the baby. Like this is like that. Older siblings can have a hard time with it too, and like kind of understanding where they are at in the birth order can get a little bit confusing for them, and just like commemorating that we lost this little one and this is still your place in the family, and there's just like just holding that place. Mm-hmm. There's I mean, memory boxes, and you can I mean, you get so much stuff for baby before they're born. If you lose them, the stuff still belongs to them. You can like saving some of that. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it can be therapeutic because like whenever your milk starts coming in after a loss, like donating milk can be therapeutic for some moms of loss. That's like a gift that their baby gave to another baby.
Yeah, those are all really beautiful. Some ways that I have been trained to commemorate loss, but have not implemented before, and that I found I hadn't actually thought about, was commemorating loss for parents, and their status as parents, especially if their loss is doesn't have a living sibling. Having them still have something that they can have that says mom or dad, or a necklace, or something they can put on the wall, or a mug, shirt. I mean, really anything that commemorates they are a parent, is also really important. And that can, for anybody who was emotionally invested in the pregnancy, for grandparents, uncles, cousins, I mean, anybody, really just naming them that. And that's something that's really important as a support person, as a person in their life. Actually calling them by their title can be really, really emotional for them, but also really, really validating for them. Just verbally commemorating their place and their relationship with this child can be quite huge. Actually, take that back. I did do that. I attended and we didn't know if the baby was going to make it at this point, but we had left the birth space, and baby had been taken to the NICU, and the mom of so the grandma of the baby that ended up not making it, just kind of said my name. We were walking and I turned around, she had fallen behind me, and she just said my name and just kind of collapsed, and I just caught her. And I called her grandma while we were talking, and that made her breathe again. Just really like validating her and her placement was so important for the space that she was in at that time. And unfortunately, I haven't seen her since. I don't know how well she didn't come to anything after that. But that was a thing that has really stuck out to me, and I'm really glad that I had that training before I experienced that, so that it happened without me really thinking about it. I might have done it organically, but I think that that's a really important way to commemorate loss, is literally just calling people what they are. She is a grandma. Even though her grandchild only lived for a few hours, she is a grandma.
Acknowledging that baby is a baby. And they were here, they existed, even if it was just in the womb, they existed. They deserve to be acknowledged.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And like you were saying, their placement in the family, whether that's an oldest, middle, youngest, there are a lot of different ways that you can represent that. There's a local photographer here who has experienced a number of losses, and she actually recently had well, I guess it wasn't that recently, but she had a fellow photographer who was a friend of hers take her photo with all of her surviving children and her husband, and they each placed where the children that she lost would have been. So the children held their hands out as if they were going to hold somebody's hand, and she had her arm curled where the baby would be, and they put shadows in where all of those placements were, and she said that that's her only full family photo, which was, I mean, it's beautiful, and that's how she chose to commemorate. And it gives her a lot of peace just to see her whole family represented in one image.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
It is. It's really beautiful. She is one of those people that really lives her life in the open, and is very open about the fertility struggles that she faces. And there is a lot of bravery that comes with that, and there's a lot of beauty. I learned so much from the interactions that she and I have about how to better support people who are experiencing the different things that she's experienced. And that's one that really stood out to me. It actually was the immediate thing that came to mind when we realized that this baby might not make it, was I went immediately to that representation of what I had, other than my class. But yeah, that's really beautiful. So you can also get things like teddy bears. I think that's probably the best well-known one. They do weighted bears where they can sew in the baby's birth date and their name, and the bear itself is made out of a onesie that maybe the baby got to wear, maybe they were just planning on wearing, and they make the bear weigh what the baby weighed when they were born. Also, you can request that pictures are taken after the baby is born, and there are very specific photographers that take those photos, and you might just want pictures of their feet or of their hands, depending on how developed the baby was. But you can, there's lots of different things that you can do to take photos of them so you have actual photos, or you can commemorate ultrasounds as well. Yeah, there's a lot of different things. I think I'll post some links to some different Google searches of different options that you have for commemorating loss, because thankfully there are a lot of companies that offer options, and there's a lot of things that you can make, like the weighted teddy bears. I don't sew, but I have been told that they're pretty simple to make. To me, if it's being sewn, it's complicated no matter what, but that is just me. Okay, that is book club for the day. I think this is the shortest book club that we've ever had. I'm so proud of us. Less than an hour. Wow.
Just slightly.
Slightly, but less than an hour. So next month we are going to be starting part 3, because this is separated into different parts, and we are once again having super short chapters, so we will be doing 5 chapters. So hopefully I will see you guys again next month. And Jamie, always a pleasure. Thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, no problem.
The following media content is intended to only be an educational reference guide and should not be taken as a substitute for medical advice. While KC Women's Ministry adheres to strict self-set guidelines, any advice, instructions, or information found within this media is not intended to be a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. KCWM makes every effort to broadcast correct information. We simply present the views based on evidence-based information. We welcome any comments, suggestions, or correction of errors. We are not sponsored by drug or device companies. By listening or viewing this podcast, you agree not to use this podcast as medical advice to treat any medical condition in either yourself or others, including but not limited to patients that you are treating. Consult your own physician for any medical issues that you may be having. This entire disclaimer also applies to any guests or contributors to the podcast. Under no circumstances shall KC Women's Ministry, any guests or contributors to the podcast, or any employees, associates, or affiliates of KC Women's Ministry be responsible for damages arising from the use of the podcast. Viewer discretion is advised.